A silent economic war is being waged against our neighbors to the north, and it has global implications for us all. What is the massive carbon tax agenda being rolled out across Canada that's crushing ordinary families? Why are Liberal candidates caught on camera admitting that they're not scrapping the tax, just applying it differently because it's unpalatable to voters? How has the scheme pushed half of Canada's population to the brink of financial insolvency, and why are food banks overwhelmed while Mark Carney refuses to answer basic questions about costs? What's behind the shocking revelation that a Liberal ban on plastic food packaging is expected to raise grocery prices by 34% while reducing shelf life by 87%? And most disturbing of all, why are armed police with automatic rifles being deployed not to protect citizens, but to guard the carbon tax against peaceful protesters? And why is this channel being blocked in Canada? Well, tonight we expose what may be the most aggressive wealth transfer scheme in modern history, sold as climate policy, but functioning as economic tyranny. The implications for America's energy independence and your personal freedom are profound. While globalists push carbon tax that crush families, they're hiding something else affecting men daily. Most guys believe their testosterone is dropping due to age or genetics, but the real culprit's something that you're eating that's falsely labeled as healthy. This one food, it devastates testosterone levels, draining energy and destroying motivation. It is not sugar or junk food. It's far more unexpected. And cutting this one thing could transform how you feel, helping you build muscle and burn fat faster. Now, the team at Sculpt Nation reveals this testosterone killer in their eye-opening video. You can see it after this report, of course, by clicking the link below, sculptnation.com/NNN. Your body's potential awaits. So there is a massive carbon tax scheme we're about to expose. The global elites are forcing Canadians to pay a climate extortion fee on everything they buy. It's not about the environment, it's about control and wealth transfer. Half of Canadians are broke while politicians feast on your tax dollars. Here we have a Liberal candidate admitting the truth on camera. We're not abandoning carbon taxes, we're applying them differently. The globalists, they think you're stupid. Too stupid to notice when they rename their tax schemes. The mask slips as they admit it was unpalatable to voters.
He made so much noise.
Stephen, do you believe carbon taxes are an effective way to reduce emissions?
The experts say it is. Every expert on the planet has said it was the most cost-effective way to do this, and unfortunately, 38 or 39% of the Conservative Party made so much noise about this that it became unpalatable. And so, it doesn't mean that we're going to abandon it. It just means it's going to have to be applied in a different way. And
Stephen, applied in a different way. We're not abandoning it, but all the experts say it's true. You just pay money and the carbon goes away, apparently. Half of Canadians are $200 away from financial ruin. To all my Canadian viewers right now, I hope you're able to see this. I actually got a message from a friend of mine. He showed me a post that I had made on Facebook. And it literally said, this post is not available in Facebook because Facebook doesn't allow news. Anyway, half of Canadians are $200 away from financial ruin. Record numbers at food banks, while Mark Carney refuses to answer how much his industrial carbon tax will cost. Steel workers in Hamilton say it will decimate their industry. Follow the money. Jobs are going to America. Listen.
That's grim. So the debates are over, and now many Canadians are walking in to advance voting booths. Most Canadians are asking themselves this question: how can I afford this? How much is this going to cost me? The reason why they're asking that, of course, is because half of Canadians are broke. 50% of Canadians now say they're within $200 every month of not being able to make the minimum payment on all their bills. Meaning you're just keeping the credit card company from phoning you, you're keeping the lights on, and you're keeping the rent paid. That's grim. 50% of Canadians are in that boat right now. We are seeing record demand for food banks, especially from working families. What that really means is that a parent who's holding down a job is nonetheless still counting on donated jars of peanut butter to feed their kid. That's the situation that half of Canadians are in right now, fighting to afford basics. So Canadians care, how much will this cost me? How much will a politician's plans cost me? Will my life be more affordable under this person or that person? They want the answers to those questions. Spoiler alert, they don't care about media infighting and who gets to ask which question when, okay? By the way, journalists should never be paid by the government, ever. Journalists should speak truth to power, and they need to hold the government to account without counting on the government for their paycheck. So Canadians are worried about affording their lives, which is why it's really important to ask questions like, hey, Mr. Carney, how much will your industrial carbon tax cost Canadians? What's the price tag? So Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre asked Carney directly, how much will your industrial carbon tax add to the price of a car? We have a clip. Listen to this.
Sorry, can we get you to address his point about the industrial carbon tax?
How much will the industrial carbon tax add to the price of a car?
So the first thing I want to say is I'm going to address the broader point. Broader point is the entire absence of a climate plan from Mr. Poilievre, which, by the way, is going to put our industry and our country at a disadvantage as we're looking for new trading partners. Guess what? Most people want to deepen our partnership in Europe, in Asia. Those countries care about whether or not you've made progress. Second thing is, we're designing a program so that the big polluters pay Canadians at home for making responsible climate choices, for retrofitting their home, getting their emissions down, or improving otherwise. And that is smart climate policy. It's better for the big polluters, and it's better for Canadians.
So did you catch the answer there? No, me neither. Carney doesn't want to say how much his industrial carbon tax will cost because the answer is a lot. So if you put an industrial carbon tax on things like steel, it will make steel cost more. That will make things like vehicles and apartment buildings cost more. It will also drive jobs away by pushing the mills into the United States, which does not have a national industrial carbon tax, putting workers at a huge disadvantage, especially in places like Ontario. So much so that the steel pipe workers in Hamilton are endorsing the Conservatives over this, because in their words, they say that Carney's industrial carbon tax will decimate the steel industry around Hamilton. And they also say that the current industrial carbon tax is costing the steel industry mega millions of dollars. So this is why it's super important for people like Mark Carney, who's pushing his hidden industrial carbon tax forward, to answer the question, how much will the industrial carbon tax cost Canadians? Interestingly, one of his candidates in British Columbia just said that, oh no, the carbon tax isn't really gone. We just had to move it around because of noise that was coming out against it. But it's still going to be applied, just in a different way. Listen to this clip.
Stephen, do you believe carbon taxes are an effective way to reduce emissions?
The experts say it is.
Canada divided by globalist carbon agenda. America's divided. This will make them weaker. Did you catch that? They're celebrating American weakness while forcing Canadians to chart their own path with massive carbon taxes.
This will make us strong, but we will do them and we will win. America is divided. This will make them weaker with time. We are uniting. This will make us stronger. We can give ourselves so much more than the Americans can ever take away. So it's time to chart our own path, to realize our own potential, to build Canada strong. Thank you. Merci. But we will do.
Yeah, tax your people with carbon tax is going to make you stronger. And of course, the shocking attack on your food supply. Liberal plastics ban will increase food prices by 34%, shelf life reduced by 87%, food going straight to garbage instead of your family's table. Listen to this.
It gets dried out. You know, I ask you, how long does this bread stay fresh and edible if it's not packaged? You ever think of taking your bread out when you go home and just leaving it unwrapped? How many days do you think it would be good before it gets dried out and moldy? How long would the other fresh produce here stay edible if it could not be plastic wrapped? The answer is a lot less time. There'll be more waste in our foods, more food that goes into the garbage, and therefore more costs that Canadians pay for food they don't even get to eat. This law, you know, it sounds crazy, but it's right on the government website. The law would require forestry grocery stores to get rid of 75% of food packaging by 2026 and 95% by 2028. Now, there's a reason grocery stores use plastic to protect and store food. And let me quote the government's own website on why that is. Plastic has become the most common material for food packaging, primarily because of its purported ability to reduce food loss and waste. It is inexpensive, lightweight, and flexible, suitable to meet product specifications such as heat and tear resistance.
They're going to starve themselves up there. And they're going to tax themselves to death. Go Canada. Conservatives vow to end the insanity, promising to axe the Liberal food packaging tax and save families $400. Going to protect 60,000 Canadian jobs.
The federal that Conservatives will bring change. We will axe the Liberal food packaging tax to save families $400 on groceries and to save 60,000 Canadians their jobs. We will repeal the federal plastics ban, including the ban on plastic straws, checkout bags, food containers, and cutlery, because consumers and businesses should be free to choose what works best for them. That Conservatives...
Mark Carney admitting the carbon tax on consumers reduces emissions by 6%, then says the vast majority of reductions will come from large emitters. Translation, they're going to crush industry with carbon taxes that will be passed down to you.
Very much. And if you look at the emissions reductions that come from the consumer carbon tax alone, it's about 6%, six of the overall emissions reduction. So it's something, but it's not very much. And so the vast majority of emission reduction work is being done by the large emitters, the large polluters. And what we've done there is tightening the carbon market, creating a new system where they are paying for emission reductions of households, so a positive incentive there, reinforcing investment tax credit and other element approaches to drive that clean energy investment. Remember, 80% of final emission reduction comes from final demand for energy, so it matters what happens in the energy system. We're driving that. Last point, we're looking to double the home building, but we're looking to double home building in a way that those new homes are emitting 20% less in the construction of those homes, and that those new homes are much more climate efficient when they're built. So you can say that's not a climate plan, because it's a home building plan, it's a plan for affordability. Both of those things are true. It's a plan that's targeted at younger Canadians, but it's a plan that's building an entire Canadian industry that is far more... If you look...
Oh, man. Brave Canadians are standing against tyranny. Police with automatic weapons sent to intimidate peaceful protesters fighting carbon tax. Patriots saying we've packed for 3 weeks. Armed forces protecting carbon tax while ignoring real crime.
Not with the police involvement here at this level, this could elicit an even bigger response like what we saw at Milk River. Is that what they want? I think they all need to call in sick, take COVID tests, and shut her down and say, I can't make it into work today.
Did you used to have faith in police?
Not really, but now it's really bad because they have tarnished the badge. Like I have no respect for them anymore. They should have stood down in Ottawa, but they didn't. So right now what they're doing, they're working for their corporation instead of taking care of we the people. So they're not taking care of us. They're ready to pounce on us anytime, and that's very sad.
They have hundreds of officers, and some of them have automatic weapons.
What are they going to do? You know, they've
got too many people down here that just elicits a negative response, and it turns people against them, and then they wonder why. We saw what happened in Ottawa, we see what happened here, and we saw what happened in Coos, we saw what happened in Milk River. It's atrocious that this much money is being spent on this, and we've got as much rampant crime in these communities, and they won't do anything about it, but they'll stand arm in arm against civilians who are just exercising their God-given rights to actually protest the taxes, the carbon taxes, the cost of living, and we've had it.
The protest started yesterday and it's still going on the second day. When is it going to end?
Well, I've packed for 3 weeks. There's a few of us who have packed enough food for 3 weeks. There are some really nice people in the town close by in Cochrane that have volunteered to come and do our laundry for us. So we would like to stay here for as long as it takes to end the carbon tax.
Seems like the government is expecting this to evolve into Milk River, hence the huge police presence. But let me ask you this, is it time to kick our CMP out of Alberta?
Our CMP have no place in this province any longer, and that's what needs to happen here is the Alberta government needs to do a patch over and take the good RCMP officers that want to leave this force and become the provincial police force, and we'll leave the rest of these brethren behind. We'll call it a day, and Alberta will set the trail for how we're going to do policing in our own province, and it won't be beholden to Ottawa and the government in Ottawa that pushes these people out here.
That's what's happening in Canada. The carbon tax scam is the greatest transfer of wealth in history. It is not about climate, it's about control. When half of the Canadians can't pay their bills, the elites want to add more taxes, and the resistance is growing across Canada. So what's happening in Canada isn't just a national issue, it's a preview of what the global elite have in plan for all of us. It's not about reducing emissions. Their own Mark Carney admits that taxing consumers only reduces emissions by 6%. This is about control, compliance, and forcing a fundamental transformation of society against the will of its citizens. When officials boast that America is divided, this will make them weaker, you're hearing the mask slip. When armed officers intimidate peaceful protesters while families struggle to afford basic necessities, you're seeing the enforcement mechanism of the new order. When plastic bans cause food to go from shelf to landfill while claiming you save the environment, you're witnessing ideology triumph over reality. So the essential question every American should ask tonight, if they're willing to crush Canadian families with carbon taxes and plastic bans today, how long before they attempt the same here under the banner of a climate emergency? If half of Canada is now just $200 away from insolvency due to these policies, what future awaits us if we follow the same path? Drop a comment below. Stand against the global agenda by supporting the Next News Network by visiting our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.